leaky gut, gut health, gut flora, microbiome. Do you hear these things all over the place and their important connection to your overall health? And do you have a deep desire and a sense of urgency to find out how good is yours? If yes, stick with me as I share an amazing tool I found to do just that. Hello, it's Amy from Be Healthy Enough, doing what I love to do again, sharing my knowledge, what I'm learning, and my experience, what I'm experiencing to inspire you to find what being healthy enough means to you. This is it. It's a test kit from a company called VIOME. Leave me a comment if you've heard about them before. VIOME is one of the first and most respected companies out there now that does microbiome testing and sells the test to consumers. And it's also one who I found whose sole business model doesn't rely solely on selling you supplements after the test. The focus of the company is strictly on testing that provides the most comprehensive, just wait till you see all this data, understanding of your microbiome and how it affects your health. And yes, they do recommend supplements at the end, but they're specific for your needs, nobody else's. What's your gut microbiome? It's something that's made up of trillions of microorganisms and their genetic material that live in your intestines. These microorganisms, mainly bacteria, are involved with all sorts of functions critical to your health. They live in your digestive system and play a key role in how you digest your food and how you absorb and what you absorb from the nutrients in your food. Gut bugs are involved in many other important processes that go beyond your gut and food digestion too, including your metabolism, your body weight, your immune regulation, as well as brain functions and your mood. There are many factors that influence the type of bacteria that we host, but what's super cool is that each person has a unique bacterial footprint. I'm a freak about learning what's happening in my body. I'm fairly healthy, and of course I could always lose 5 pounds, but I've worked really super hard to feel this way and to get off that diet roller coaster and heal my digestive issues. Roll back 8 to 9 years ago, and there are days when I could barely make it through our morning walk or had that urgent feeling, you guys know what I mean, on the way to work, which, God, it was an awful way to start my day. Then there were days when I couldn't go to the bathroom at all. I know, TMI. I did my research and I experimented with foods and found my enemy was dairy and carbs in the morning. Way back then, I used to wake up, pour a cup of coffee and pour in that awful sugary coffee creamer, and then I drink a glass of orange juice, which is loaded with sugar, and then my breakfast was always a carb, like cereal or a bagel with cream cheese, or it was something that I know my body hated and it would tell me loud and clear. Now, I only have unsweetened almond milk in my coffee, and for breakfast, if I eat it, because I'm doing intermittent fasting every once in a while, is a veggie and a protein. When I started taking a probiotic back then, because of all of that, my body is so much better, but I still occasionally have problems, and so I set out to learn some more. And for those of you who don't know me, in my formal life, I was an engineer, so gathering data and solving problems is a huge passion of mine. About a year ago, feeling pretty good, but through my health channels, I heard about this company called VIOME. And I did some research and was so curious that I bit the bullet and spent the $149 that it was. And the test came in and it was fairly easy to do. Let me show you what you get, okay? It comes in this nice little package. This is the outside. And then you get this nice little kit. First thing you do is really good instructions on how to get started. You have to register your serial number for your kit. And then you either download an app on your phone or you can use your computer to do a pretty extensive questionnaire. Here's what you get inside the kit. This is the next kit I'm going to be doing. You get a tape measure because in the questionnaire, it's pretty intensive. They ask you to get your waist measurements. And then they give you all you need right here to take your sample. It's pretty simple, something you can put on your toilet, a little collection, and then the bag and things that you do to send it back in. And you don't have to have any postage. It's all postage paid right there. I got my results for both tests in about 4 weeks. The first one, I was really kind of nervous to see them. I was really afraid that they were going to tell me something bad, and they did. They said I needed to avoid coffee. Oh no. I did what they said, except I cheated on the coffee. I couldn't do it. But I did switch to an organic version, and I tried to only have 1 cup a day, but I did avoid all the recommended avoid foods. And for the first test, those foods were coffee, tomatoes, bell peppers, goat, which I didn't have a problem avoiding, lobster, crab, okay, egg yolks, which I wasn't surprised because sometimes when I ate those things, I did feel a little bit funny. And I made sure to take that the probiotic I was taking contained the strains that they recommended that I needed, which thank goodness it did. I shared with the world how great I was feeling and how good I was pooping, probably more than most people wanted to hear. And then through that, VIOME sent me a discount for another test, so I ordered that and took that one in April of this year. And those are the results I'm going to share now. This is what the homepage looks like on my PC. It'll look a little different on your phone and the app on your phone. The first thing I want to show you is they have a ton of resources to learn more than you ever wanted to know about your microbiome. All sorts of things. This is funny, your poop journey. All sorts of things to learn more if you're curious, but don't get too tied up in all those things. These are my results, my scores. I'm going to step you through these because I've got 2 scores in here. If it's green in the circle, it's good, blue is average, and red is not optimal. My gut health is doing pretty darn good. Score of 87, and that came up from a score of 67 in July of 2019. That's when I took the first test, and then in April I took the second test. So I know from these results that things are working because I followed the results much better between the first test and the second test. And then you can dig into the scores. They have a lot of different responses that all add up to your ultimate score here, your overall score. Then they break them all down in the same colors, good, average, and not optimal, excuse me. So inflammatory activity, metabolic fitness, digestive efficiency. This one was interesting for me, and that went way up from last time. So I'm digesting my food much better, which means that I have better gut bacteria in there, or bugs to help me digest. Inflammatory activity actually got better, going down. So my foods are not quite as inflammatory to my body. And you guys know that with inflammation comes disease. Gut lining was pretty good. It stayed about the same. Protein fermentation got a little better, so I'm digesting better, even the proteins. Gas production got a lot better, and I think my husband's happy about that one. But my score was not optimal last time, and it's in the green, so it's doing really good. So those are results. Take them with a grain of salt. I think the most important thing you should start to focus on are your foods. And they break them all into based on what your bacteria tells them. And they've built up this database, artificial intelligence, really about what bacteria works well or doesn't work well with certain foods. So the more people that take the test, the more results they get and the better our results will be. So my avoid this time and minimize are cashews, which is a big bummer because I love all nuts. Coffee, crab, goat, though they were on before, haddock, lobster. Spinach showed up as something new this time to avoid, which surprised the heck out of me. Tomato was on there before. Trout, wild rice showed up new. A big bummer too is I need to minimize almonds. So I've swapped my nuts to the ones that they say I should enjoy. I'll just go through these. Black tea I've noticed. Cane sugar, some other things didn't shock me too much. Coconut water has never really agreed with me. I like dates and figs. Grapes. Green tea, again, was something I kind of knew in the back of my mind. Let's see, another one that came up that I knew was stevia. That's always bothered me. And then, so I need to minimize those, and then you can sort however you want, minimize and avoid those foods. So if I go over to this filter, I can go to my superfoods, the things I should be eating. Oh, yay, I should be eating more anchovies. Love asparagus. I love all of these. Every single one of these I love. So no problem swapping out the foods to avoid with some of these good foods. Surprised me the first time I took the test, it wanted me to avoid egg yolks. So something changed in my microbiome that egg yolks are my superfood now. I don't like lamb. Olives, I love all of the, I don't like really sardines, but these are all my superfoods. And then they give you this whole list of foods to enjoy and don't worry about. And this list is huge. They have so many things. I have to be really honest with you guys. After that second test, I have not been good at all. I have 2 cups of coffee now. Still doing the organic, and I eat cashews because they're in that favorite nut mix of mine, and I love them. And tomatoes and spinach I have at least once a week. Tomatoes are in everything. Salsa, marinara pizza. I did get another test, and that's the test I just showed you, and I'm going to take that this week. Do I recommend this? Heck yeah. If you're struggling with digestive issues like I was, understanding your gut and what works for you and what doesn't is the only way to get relief. I wish I had this back then. Didn't have to experiment on my own, but I'd love for you to learn on the mistakes that I made. Number 1 is to make a commitment to do what they recommend. If you're going to spend the money, why not follow what they say? Number 2 is don't get so overwhelmed though. As you saw, that's a lot of data. They send you a lot. Start with eliminating the foods to avoid first. Maybe swapping in some of your superfoods. But if there's a food that you cannot let go of, like mine was coffee, don't stress. Maybe find a healthier swap. It wasn't caffeine they said to eliminate, it was the coffee, regular and decaf. And a lot of the time, it's not actually the coffee bean that what's bad for you, it's what's on it, like mold or pesticides. And I found that organic, super good coffee and limited to 1 a day, maybe 2 on bad days. And that worked just fine for you. You guys saw my first test results. Also, the minimized foods. I'd give yourself a few weeks to worry about those. And also just skim through those scores. As you saw, I had a lot of them. And most of the results were in the positive direction from the first test, but there's just way too much information and not a lot of specific action on those results other than the foods they recommend and the supplements. Follow their guidelines for the full 90 days and retest to make sure that you can make any course corrections quickly if you need to. And if you're taking a probiotic, be consistent. I did an experiment a few weeks back and stopped taking mine, and I felt a big difference. So I went back to them and I felt much better. This is the probiotic I'm taking now, and I chose this based on the strains of bacteria that VIOME recommended that I be taking. And it's so convenient because I just have it on my subscription plan and I get it regularly, and it works really well for me. I really like this one because I got it off consumerlabs.com, which is a site I subscribe to that does unbiased testing of supplements. This is the site called consumerlab.com, and I subscribe to this site, and it's got so much information. They do testing on all sorts of products and supplements. You guys know that supplements have no regulations on them. So they do testing to let you know if what they claim is in the supplement is actually in there. So for probiotics, I use this to choose that last probiotic, and they share so much information about different tests, and then they give their top picks for what you're using your probiotic for. I just noticed this pet probiotics, which yes, there is some, and so they give you ones that have been approved and what results they have. The ones that aren't approved, it looks like here's one that's not approved because it didn't have the microorganism that they claimed. So this is an excellent site. Oh, there's the one I chose because it had the ingredients that I needed, the microbiome, the microorganisms, the bacteria I needed, and it was approved. They had tested it to make sure that it didn't have anything else in it. I'm about ready to retest, and I'm making a commitment to all of you that are watching. But I'm going to do what they recommend this time, and I'll make sure to share those results as soon as I get them. In the notes below, I've included links to VIOME, and as always, thank you so much for watching this all the way to end. And if you like this video, which is different than my fitness videos, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Oh, and why not subscribe so you get notified when I share my latest results? Oh, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye for now. My tummy's growling. Genetic material that live in your intestinal tract. These microorganisms, I knew I was going to struggle with that, mainly back. So I bit the bullet and spent at the time $149, and the test came in and it was fairly easy to do. I gotta do that again. I gotta stop that.